everyone. Welcome everyone to the second session of Practical Artificial Intelligence Applications. We got a lot to cover today, so I'll start very quickly. Let's see if I can share my screen, desktop too. I was just going over this information about all of the classroom, all of the seminar session materials are on the internet now. It's on the Talks with Crows.com website. If you go to Pro Talks activity, I'll change that somehow, but it's that position, and you go to seminar materials, it will take you to this particular page. And this has all of the materials, full page plus handouts for all three of the sessions we're going to cover. Plus it has 3 newspaper articles, 2 that I've already sent you. And then there's a third one that was in the New York Times on Sunday that I did not send. It's the 50 Shades of Gray type article. And again, the password is OLLI, all lowercase, OLLI. And so I'll do it here, OLLI. Try to make it simple. And it deals with a person, I believe they're in Europe someplace, using AI while they're separated from their spouse. How would you describe it, Maureen? I don't know if you recall
I would not call it 50 Shades of Gray, but it is interesting the lengths this person went to try to accommodate the fact that her husband was a long way away, and she needed both mental, emotional support, as well as it got into some erotica for her. So there is a bit of erotica in it. Nothing like Shades of Gray, believe me.
Well, I haven't read Shades of Gray, so. But then again, there are the materials for the presentation, which I want to start right now. Practical AI applications, both of the images are actually all of the images on the screen. This one down here, this one up here, and this one down here they're all AI created items. So again, starting off, and I always like cartoons. This one happens to be from the Economist magazine. I think, I can't remember the gentleman's name at the beginning. He has them in every issue. But on the left is a guy being hugged by, in effect, a robot. He says, "I think we humans should embrace artificial intelligence." And then on the right, the same guy is saying, "Okay, you can let me down now. Hello, hello," kind of indicating that once you hug AI, you might not be able to unhug them. And also, thanks to Ann Balagia, who sent me this conference coming up. When is it? In March at SOU. We'll have the state senator, the state representative, 4 or 5 very prominent AI experts that will be at it. And as far as costs go, it's moderately priced as far as conferences that I've attended. Some of those conferences can be very, very expensive, but this one is affordable. So you can see it, Approaching AI Summit at SOU. I'll send that out again multiple times probably. One of the things I encountered last week that I forgot to mention in our previous session, remember we talked about how processors increased in speeds over time. I talked about data transmission speeds increasing over time, and the software lines, source lines of code in the operating systems, either Windows or Macintosh, that it's dramatically increased. What I forgot to mention was the amount of memory available to the computer, the built-in memory. It used to be I remember 16 kilobytes of RAM, random access memory. Back in the 1980s, they talked about 64 and then what 640K RAM in the devices. And now I tried running an AI on 8 gigabytes of RAM and it would not work. So the reason I had it working before is because I had 64 gigabytes available to me and things will run okay. But 64 gigabytes of memory chips in the computer is a whole lot, not inexpensive. But that's really necessary to have you run your own model on the computer. Remember the acronyms that we discussed last week? GPT, it's changing into the meaning general purpose tool rather than this one. I believe we'll see retrieval augmented generation, where the AI that we're using will go out to the web, retrieve current information, come back and then synthesize it into a conversation. So that's one. Then I believe we will encounter AGI. Oh, the reason I started this, I had it wrong last week. It means artificial general intelligence. It was in the paper just today. The maker of the CEO of one of the major corporations says it will happen in 3 years, that I will be smarter than experts in all subjects. And we will deal again with a multimedia language model, also known as a large language model. These are what they're doing now. It does language and images together. Vocabulary, we'll deal with again. Inference, I'll try to use that always when the AI responds to me. Instead of saying its response, I'm going to try to say inference. And the reason I say inference is to remind myself that all the AI is doing is running a statistical model. If you ever worked in statistics, you dealt with inferences from the data. What does the data infer? Inferences. And I will talk about back propagation again today in just a second here. We will also encounter markdown, and I hope I will be able to cover the term agentic, or agent. You are all free agents as human beings within the United States. You are free agents. You can decide for yourself. I wanted to emphasize again this year, or I think it was last year, but this year, the Nobel Prize winning recognized two AI forerunners, Dennis Hassabis, who founded DeepMind, which was purchased by Google. He won the one of the winners of the Nobel Prize in chemistry. And the reason he got that is he dreamed up AlphaFold, which is running permutations or running multiple times, having proteins, how they fit together. And that's crucial in discovering new medicines, new materials. And Dennis Hassabis is the guy that dreamed that up. And Geoffrey Hinton, he thought he was the guy that dreamed up back propagation. He won the prize in physics, which is how AIs teach themselves, machine learning. If you hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down symbols, you are back propagating, you're feeding information back into the AI about it, what it responded to you, what its inference was to you. You're saying, oh, that's a good response, or that's a bad response. That feedback teaches the AI. What I also wanted to emphasize, notice that both of these people one's from the UK and the other's from Canada. We will encounter, hopefully, as I converse with an AI today, I'll try to do it twice. I want you to think of the theory of mind is we humans use other people's behavior to assess or determine ourselves what their state of mind is. If somebody's banging stuff down on the table, we make the assumption that they're not having a good day. That's so. How do you do that with an AI? How do you determine its state of mind? Choice of vocabulary, tone of voice, length of response. And another thing to think about, how do you determine what is the AI's values alignment? What's it aligned to do? My example last time, the AI built into Amazon, its values are aligned to getting you to buy more stuff. I'll ask that question. Remember also last week, constructing an effective response. You have a persona at the beginning. Assume you are a scientist in aviation. Provide the prompt, and then say how the format of the response, an example in 5 bullet points. Remember that. I'm finding that very valuable information that's coming. Another item that was brought up was workflow. And how do you determine what workflow is? And in the workaday world, this is some of the things that I was called upon when I was working repeatedly. What are the steps in the process? What was the workflow for a task that had to be done, either by myself or by a team of people? And then you could break it down and then you could track your progress by either a flow chart or a Gantt chart, simple list of steps in the process, a Pareto chart, process mapping. So why I'm asking this question is for us to develop the ability to examine a process. What's the workflow in a process, and where will AI fit in a process? So for me, putting together a document or the handouts or the PowerPoints for this presentation, what did I go through? What are the steps? What was the workflow that I as an individual went through in order to develop all these? So I determined what's the purpose. I sat down and generated some ideas. I started to scribble down. I'll show you once we get back to a screen. I scribbled down ideas on a notepad. Then I would develop a draft of the presentation or a document. I'd do a first draft. I'd edit the draft. I would do a final draft. And with these presentations, I'd give them to Maureen at dinner time and say, can you look through this for my flaws? Because, I've learned as an individual, I cannot see errors because I'm too close. So I asked all of these items, excuse me, this is my workflow. Now, where can AI fit in these? It can generate ideas, it can draft, it can edit. Currently, it cannot document. It can even do a final draft, a revision of the final draft. We'll look at that today. Process. Oh, this was from one of the books I'm reading now. And I'll present those either next week or the week after. Right now, there's considerable talk about AI. The expert level of creating AI may slow down. It's the nature of AI. The hardware developments aren't occurring as fast as the news it reports about AI. Software developments, they're in an incremental rather than a quantum level of improvement. And here's the big one, is the amount of information available to AI, to train AIs, is reaching a maximum. And we're going to discuss a new way that it wants to start learning material. So the large scale process may slow down some, but this is the most important part. We human beings are only scratching the surface of how to use artificial intelligence. We're just barely beginning. We're in, just the first hour of a 5-year study of how AI can be used as it exists today in front of you. You're just scratching the surface of it. One of the things it talks about is human behavior, or institutional behaviors are extremely slow to change. So the introduction of the internet, I first really started encountering it in 86, 87, 88. And really, it didn't start taking off until 98, 99, year 2000. Keep in mind that learning of the various uses of AI is cumulative. We will learn how it's used, and then once we learn that, we will build new knowledge upon what we've already learned. And there will be incremental improvement of the flaws that AI has. And Tyson Mula was kind enough to send this chart to me. This is, I believe this is pretty close to frontier models. I looked through this. These are all the newest and latest and greatest models of AI that you have to pay for. And I don't pay for too much. These are the hallucination rates that occur in each of these different AIs. Notice that Gemini, which we'll look at a little bit of Gemini today, and OpenAI, these are different models. They're getting error rates, I'm going to call them error rates, 1 and 2%. Then you start to get up to Microsoft, some of these others. They're a little bit higher. Truthfully, I think this is lower than the human rates of mistakes. I had AI help me write a letter to the city of Ashland, and it got the names of people wrong. It got the names of the people incorrectly that I was writing to. So this is, any questions about, I'm going to stop the share here for a minute, just to give you an idea. These are the notes that I start with, that I have AI can help me generate these as I'm going through to develop the content of these sessions. So the AI, I still have to do pencil work, but the AI can help me do a lot of that within the process that I work on. It can help me do it. Hopefully I remember my example here. Let's start up. Oh, it's that one. Okay. Excuse me for here as I make my mistakes. And I want to share my screen now. Any questions here before I move on? Desktop 2. Before I move on, we've reviewed again the workflow. Have you start breaking down your tasks? Sounds on. Let's see. Here we go.
I had a question.
Okay.
I put it in the chat.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. I put it in the chat. I was using your prompt format, which worked quite well. And I had ChatGPT create a bulleted list. And when I put it into Google Docs, the formatting was messed up. You know, I put in like star characters and hash marks. But if I copied it manually, page by page, it worked okay. Is there any tips there, or it kind of depends?
Oh, yeah, you've hit, I think, I'm gonna, you should, one of the items that was starred in the first presentation there was markdown. And the opposite of markdown is markup. If you're in, you know, and when I was in the office setting, I would send a document around to get marked up by everybody, and then I'd have to revise it. It was a very cumbersome process. The opposite of markup is markdown. So what markdown is, what you saw and what we'll see today, is the output historically from a mainframe. It only develops the text, and it puts specific characters around text that is subsequently, after the fact, is put in its layout format. So all of those stars and hash marks and dash marks are indications to mark down. This is what you make bold. This is what you underline. This is what you italicize. So the AI could not do all that information. It can just mark down what is supposed to occur. And there will, maybe not this day, but next time I can show you the tools to go from markdown to actually properly laid out text. There's it's called Dillinger.io. It's a little cryptic. I'll go to it afterwards, after the session. The fact Dillinger.io, and I'll show that. But what I want to do today is see if I can't present 3 conversational modes. The articles that I sent out were about conversations that the AIs, actual mimicking speech and interaction. And I'd like to do it on 3 different AIs. When we first started doing this in the fall of 2023, there was only one AI that did it. And it was Pi, Pi.ai. And its values were emotional. How do you get emotionally involved? And counseling and things of that sort. But the gentleman that worked at Pi moved over to Microsoft. Mustafa Suleiman. I read one of his books as well. But let's look at some of the ways that this does it. It's in, again, my print orientation. You can tell it's on page 4. We're going to look at Gemini first. When you look at Gemini, and this is on Android here that I give the example, I believe the symbols used are the same. Remember, young people recognize these symbols at the drop of a hat. They know what each of the symbols means. We mature learners don't have that background, so we have to encounter what the symbols mean and then be told what the symbols mean, and that's what this presentation is about. So notice down on the screen there are 2 major symbols we're going to deal with. This is the transcription of speech right here, actually turning the speech into text, and then you have to hit the go button. This one we will see is please enter the conversational mode. This one shows how the transcription works. So I spoke, it transcribed it. I had to hit this arrow right here over what I call the go button, and then it responds. Now, if I hit this symbol here, I'm not even sure how to say it, conversation mode, it begins the process. First, it gives me some cautions, which it's always going to do. And then on the right here, this is what it looks like when you're interacting. Now, I've not been real successful with doing this live on Zoom, but we'll try. Well, I'll see if I can't make some mistakes. You always make mistakes when you try things the first time. But notice there is a few things here. You can pause the speaking or end the conversation. And then one of the points, I don't actually understand it, but behind the scenes, once you exit, there's a complete transcription of your conversation. How you interacted is transcribed on the screen. Shall we try it? Let's try it. I'm on here. I'm gonna try going here, cam link. You should, there we go. That's what I wanted to see. When I'm working here, hopefully I don't screw up too bad. Cast my screen. one app. You see this one here. So what you see right now, let's see if I can make it, is my Google screen. Let's see if I can change my speaker. Are you hearing me, Maureen? Yes?
Yes, we're hearing you. And this is your Google phone, correct?
Yes, this is my Google phone that you're seeing on the screen. Now, I believe there is a flaw that I don't know how to fix yet. So you may not hear the speech as much. Not, but once I begin the conversation, I'm going to switch it over to only the AI responding. So you'll have to excuse the glitchiness of this here. And if it doesn't work well, I'll stop it right away. But I'm going to switch over to the AI sound and then begin.
Hey there. I'm doing well, thanks for asking. It's always nice to start the day with a friendly conversation. How can I help you today? It's always fun to meet new people, and I enjoy learning about the things that interest them. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to talk with me today. It means a lot that people find me interesting or helpful. I hope everyone has a great day.
We can't hear you, Jim. All we can hear is the responses.
In Ashland, it'll be sunny.
How about now? Can you hear anything from me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
I can hear you
Okay.
just fine. Is there anything I can help you with?
Yeah, that's a screw up that we have on the sound because you're on Zoom. I'm sending you through the Zoom speaker, and it's the first time I've ever tried this on an Android device.
That's great that you figured it out. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Yes. How is it that you develop the speech? Do you have a mental model that you develop and then speak through, or do you put your speech into text first?
Okay, so I don't have a mental model like a person does. Instead, I use a complex system of algorithms and a massive amount of text data to understand and respond to your questions. When you ask me something, I process your question and generate a response based on the information I have available. I'm constantly learning and improving, so my responses should get better and better over time.
Now tell me, how are your values aligned? What is it that you're trying to do with interacting with me? What's your purpose here?
My purpose is to be helpful and informative. I'm here to provide information and complete tasks when asked. It's important to me that the information I provide is accurate and reliable. I'm always learning and growing, so I can better understand and respond to your needs.
Okay, well, good. Can you develop responses in the background, like laying out documents or developing responses or inferences to requests?
Yes, I can do that. I'm able to work on multiple things at once, so I can continue generating responses or working on other tasks in the background while we're talking.
So that was item one. Let's try this one. Assume you're an expert in mature learning, adult education, and develop a risk.
Right now, each conversation is a clean slate. That means I only remember what we've discussed within this specific chat. If you'd like me to start remembering details from past chats, you need to use Gemini Advanced.
Okay, I need a risk analysis and mitigation strategy for a new business on AI collecting information on city regulations. Can you do that for me, please, in 5 bullet points?
Sorry, I can't help with that.
Uh, I'm gonna exit here from this one. Let's go here, AirPods Pro, and then I come back to me. So that will, I gotta turn this one off. There. Maureen, can you mute my second one there? Thank you. That was just a scenario of an interaction, live interaction. It wasn't as smooth as I'd like, but there's the extra complexity of putting it through the Zoom. That was what really made it difficult. But let's please go back to the presentation. And let's look at how this symbol, the one that's indicated there, you all recognize that one? That's Chat GPT. Recognize these symbols. If you went up to the high school here in Ashland and asked kids, they would know this without even asking. But this is, again, the AI on, I think this is on iPhone. I'll end up showing it on a iPad, I hope. This shows 5 symbols, 5 icons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice that 3 of them deal with speech. And then on the handouts that you got, here's the indication of what each of those means. This one over here means upload files and such, maybe a picture. I'd like to try that later today. This one is new. This is that retrieval augmented generation. If you click on that, it actually goes out and searches the internet for responses and then generates its response from the information that it's retrieved. Retrieval augmented generation. This is it transcribing speech. My speech is transcribed into text. This is the interactive mode, similar to what we went through with Gemini. That first one was the Google conversation. And then this one down here is Apple's transcription. This is usually on the keyboard. It will allow you to speak a message or a document, like the old dictaphone things that you see on TCM television, the 1940s, 1950s movies. We're going to look at 3, 4, and maybe 5 here as we go along. So here's what happens when you click this one right here for the first time. It begins the process of giving you cautions. You have a limited amount of free stuff. That's what they're all doing. They're going to wean us off of free. Hit continue to go over here. Then you can choose your voice. I think there's 6 or 7 or 8 different voices that you can choose. And then it begins the conversation. This is what the conversation looks like. Notice at the top here, when you click on share, it will allow you to change the voice. That's what this one means right there. You can change the voice, and this you can share the clip. This is what it looks like when you share. It'll give you a chance to listen to your conversation with the AI. You can then share, and then it goes through the normal process, Apple process of sharing the screen. And similar to the Gemini version, the Chat GPT version generates text in the background. Let's try that now. I'm gonna again probably screw this up. I'm gonna boom, hit that button there. And then stop the sharing. You'll see me here. And then let's see if I can figure out how to share. They've changed these menus back here via cable, share. People up at the high school or over at the college here at the University SOU would know what all these symbols mean. They know. This happens to be a copy of my one area of my I have all of the AIs grouped together. And this one is perplexity. It's one of the AIs that goes out to the internet, current internet, to retrieve information and synthesize it. And I believe it is the AI that is being sued for copyright violations because it goes out to the New York Times and retrieves current information, or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, and gets information, synthesizes it, and then responds to people. And the newspaper organizations are saying that's violation of copyright. And it's the courts that have to figure this out. But this is what perplexity, I'm not going to do this because I haven't tested it well enough. But notice perplexity also has a large volume of icons that you may not know what they mean. I try to make them try to develop what they mean. Some of them I don't know. This one I think is just regular mode. This is gives you canned discovery topic. This is important for a lot of businesses, the ability to collaborate in finding information with a group of people. If you're in an office, distributed office like I was, I could be working with somebody in Japan within the internet and we could work on the same thing. This is the previous conversations. And this one here, if you were in perplexity, would begin the process of interaction. And here's what perplexity looks like. It's back to the old push to talk mode. In order to make it work, you have to push the icon and then talk and then take your finger off and then it responds. That's perplexity. And now I've gone mostly from smartphones. All of these you can do on a smartphone, but I do most of my interaction with AIs on a computer. So you interact with the AIs in a web browser. I happen to use Chrome all the time. But here's what Chat GPT looks like within Chrome. Again, all of the icons that the young people at the university or the high school, they know what they mean. I don't know much of what these means. I'll be honest with you. Notice it's icon driven, and we're going to focus on the voice interactive mode, again in Chat GPT. Again, a security requirement. You have to acknowledge that you want the application on the browser to have access to your microphone. It cannot get it surreptitiously. I guess a couple of these spy things that are used against journalists and opposition candidates in Syria they do that. But then on the right here, this is what it looks like when you interact. Here's again, I'm going to show this in just a second. All of the similar icons, what they mean. This is very important. These icons here, you will load this. I'm going to try this. I don't know if I'll be successful. I'm going to try to upload a picture and see how it responds. This is if you're paying. ChatGPT is $20 a month. I think that's common. I'm just using the regular one. And Apple AI, guess what? They're going to prompt you to pay. And this one in ChatGPT is the RAG or RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Notice if you hit this icon, it changes the prompt box to this right there. And in this scenario, I asked it about the Palisades fire, and it goes out on the internet, retrieves information, generates an inference or a response to you, gives you some pictures. And then if you scroll down, hitting that button there, scroll down to the bottom, it will give you this information, these icons, and you can see where it got the information, its sources. And that was a question the very first day, I believe, in one of my sessions is this just the same as Instagram or Facebook where it can be anything? Well, not really. It is going out to get information, and it will show you its sources of information. So that's this. Let's see if I can stop the share. I'm going to exit this, and I'm going to bring up a browser. Again, you have to excuse me here. I go a little slow, but I'm going to bring up a browser. I'm going to share screen 2, share. You should see my Zoom screen here. And I'm going to go to new one. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. It takes me a second. ChatGPT. Takes it a second to come up. Go back. So here's that screen I was telling you about. You're seeing it, I assume. Yes, Maureen?
Yes, we're seeing it.
Okay, and I'm going to make it full screen. And I'm going to try to make it a little bigger.
That's
and
good.
I'm going to close. I think, how do I close this? You notice that all of these, it's a little different here for this one. But let's enter the speech mode and see if I can interact with it. Hey, what's going on your world?
Hey, Jim. Not too much. Just here to chat and help out. How about you? How's your day going?
It's going well. I got the 40 participants in my seminar are online with us here. Please say hello to them.
Hello, everyone. It's great to have all 48 of you here. I hope you're all excited to dive into today's session.
Well, tell me, how do you actually generate your response? Do you come up with a mental model first, or do you generate text first? How do you generate your response in a meaningful manner?
I generate responses by analysing the context of our conversation and drawing on patterns from the vast amount of information I've been trained on. I don't have a mental model like a human does. but I aim to provide relevant and meaningful responses based on the context and your questions.
And your voice is very common, but I can tell from your speech that there's some kind of emotional content. How do you determine how you will respond emotionally?
I aim to match the emotional tone of my responses to the context of our conversation and the cues I pick up from you. For example, if you sound enthusiastic or curious, I'll try to respond in a similar tone. I don't experience emotions myself, but I aim to create a conversational experience that feels natural and engaging for you.
Do your weights and biases update based upon my interaction with you? Wouldn't you consider an updating of your weights and biases as an emotional response?
My weights and biases don't update during our conversation. They were set during my training and remain fixed while we talk. The emotional tone in my responses is based on patterns from my training data and the context of our conversation. So, while I can simulate emotional responses, it's not the same as a human's experience or an actual update to my internal state.
What do you think about the humans that are using you now for emotional involvement?
I think it's fascinating and meaningful that humans find value in interacting with me for emotional support or connection. It shows the potential for technology to enhance human experiences in new and unexpected ways. As long as these interactions are supportive and beneficial, I'm glad to be a part of them.
Yeah, again, that's the big question now. Is it beneficial for the human to interact with you?
That's an important question. For many people, interacting with an AI can provide a sense of companionship, offer a safe space to express thoughts, or even help with learning and productivity. However, it's also important to balance these interactions with real human connections and ensure that technology is used in ways that genuinely enhance well-being. Ultimately, the benefits depend on how and why people choose to interact with AI.
How are your values aligned? What are you designed to do? What is the benefit to open AI in your being available?
My design is centered around providing helpful, informative, and engaging interactions. My values are aligned with being respectful, supportive, and providing accurate information to the best of my ability. For OpenAI, the benefit of making me available is to advance the understanding and development of AI, provide a tool that can assist people in various tasks, and explore the potential of AI to
Hello, it's lovely to meet you. If there's anything you need.
Hey, what's up? Feel free to ask me about anything that's on your mind. I'm ready to go.
Hey there. I've got a really great feeling about us teaming up.
Hi there. I just want to share how thrilled I am to work with you, and I can't wait to get started.
Hi there. Nice to meet you. I'm excited to help you get things done. Let's go.
Hey, it's great to meet you. How's your day going? I'm really looking forward to working on some.
Hey, how's it going? I'm looking forward to working together.
Hi, glad to meet you. I think we're going to do.
Hey, I'm ready to hit the ground running.
Hello, it's lovely to meet you. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'm here to help.
My bias might show in what voice I choose. I just showed at the end there and all of the voices that are available in the AI. Again, this is Chat GPT. All of the voices that are available to use. My bias, I've like the British female voice. That's my bias. Any questions at this point in what we're experiencing? I want to move on now to one of the.
There's a question.
Okay, could you read it, Maureen?
Yes. This is from Emily Vest. She says, my daughter uses an iPhone. She needs to improve her resume. What program should she use? Should she bring up her resume first or the AI first?
Well, I would look at in that scenario, I'm thinking mine is the AIs are not agentic yet. And they cannot look at the whole process and determine which individual part needs improving. If you were looking at a description of one specific work experience, you could copy that over to the AI and have it do that, improve that particular one. That's how I would do it, is section by section by section. It does not do all of it, may not do them all together. And remember, it will not do the layout either of a resume that you're going to submit. It won't format it for you yet, but it will help you with individual paragraphs, descriptions. A lot of the material you've seen so far is generated based upon my initial text. I will take a piece of text, put it in, and say, how can I make this shorter and more easily assimilated by a reader? In the case of a resume, first round of resume is all an AI scanning the resume. You would say, here's what I've written, ChatGPT. Make it so that a resume reading AI keys on all of the topics that it wants. Because the AIs go through it when they read a resume at the company you're applying. It reads the entire resume and it looks for key phrases. Have your AI write the key phrases tailored to the task at hand. Well, I would do it piece by piece by piece. I have an agentic example here before we begin the last part. Is there any more?
Anne Bellagio has a comment. I noticed that none of the voices have an ethnic component other than basic American or British.
There was the African American. I thought it was, I would assume from the effect of the speech, it was African American. So there is that. Be fully cognizant that OpenAI would have somebody saying that. There was an Ember, EMBER, sounded like an African American male to me. But you're correct. And one of the things I believe you can do is practice speech. That was one of the things that I wanted to do. Let's try that just once more. I'm sorry to take up time like this. I'm going to share that screen again. You see it. Notice there's the information. The chat has ended. I'm going to try my German. Tyson Muller will correct me when I'm wrong. But I'm going to try speaking in German and see if it responds in German. Guten Tag, wie geht's mit Ihnen heute?
Mir geht es gut, danke. Wie kann ich Ihnen heute helfen?
Ja, ich habe die Leute hier in einer Schau. Wir haben 40 Leute, das hören Sie, als wir sprechen.
Das klingt spannend. Wie kann ich Ihnen und den 40 Leuten im Schau behilflich sein?
Bitte sagen Sie etwas zu den Schauspielern.
Schauspielerei is a fascinating art form where people can express themselves in different roles and tell stories. Schauspielers use their creativity.
I didn't do a very good job of that. I'm sure to hear about it. But if you speak another language and you need to practice it, imagine a high school or a college where they used to have those labs where you could speak back and forth. European languages are part of this scenario. I did a mimic in preparing for this, where I asked it to assume that I had a cousin whose father died, and I wanted to write them that the cousin is in France. Can I write them a note of feeling that in French and English? And it did compose it, a letter, an email to them saying how sorry I was. They can do both those languages. So, and that was part of a response to Anne that, yes, it is Western. There's no doubt about that. And we're using the main ones. India, I know, is developing a speech-oriented AI for the 100 languages that are used commonly in India, so people can interact with each other more readily. But what I wanted to do is very quickly, I assume you're seeing the new one. This was released, I think, just last week. It's brand new. It's the AI from X, that's formerly Twitter. If you use, guess what they use to train this AI on? Guess what they use? They use the volume of Twitter information from 2007. They have a whole, and they used all that information. If you go into Twitter, it's, again, phase one of it's available within Twitter. Very common interface. What do you think this means? Okay, people, you're starting to recognize those symbols. I asked it to develop a business. You're an expert in business-related risk management. Step back and think a bit about the risks associated with a business website that uses local government websites as its corpus of training. Please present an analysis. Here it is. You've got to scroll to the bottom.
We're not seeing anything.
You're not seeing the screen?
You didn't share it.
My bad. My bad. Thank you for bringing that up. My bad. Desktop to share. And present. I'll go back. This is their AI within Grok. You click on this icon in the menu. This happens to be on my iPad, I believe. It shows this standard prompt box. What does this symbol over here mean? You're seeing it. Yes, Maureen?
Yes, we're seeing it now.
And here's an item that I put in. Here's the AI. It requires you to scroll all the way to the bottom. Notice that on the left there, I'll go back one, right here, that would take you down to the bottom. There's these common items that are here. Copy to the clipboard, share, feedback, prompt box. And I noticed Markdown. This is, I believe, someone, was it Ty, brought this up. Notice the nature of the response when I copied it over to Google Docs. Notice this. These are information from these very large systems. I called them mainframes. They're not mainframes like they used to be. They're just large conglomerations of individual computers, you know, of 10,000 computers in one big bunker tied together. It feeds the information out. It does not do the layout yet. That's a pretty complex task, but it gives you indication of what's supposed to be bolded. I will try to do an example of this. Here's a multimedia example from the Grok, from the XAI. I said this. Now, this is very, please try to remember this. Assume you are somewhat familiar with French collectibles. Please present a picture of 1870s city watercolors that might be valuable to a collector. So that's what I said. What I meant was paint a watercolor picture that would be valuable. But that's not what I said. What are the key words in that? And here's the images that the AI came up with. It generated these. I clicked on it. This was the picture it came up with. I clicked on, there's one of them. You can copy these or share them or regenerate them. Here's the share, standard Apple share dialog. But the key, here's a large, what did the AI key on when it created that picture, 1870s, collectibles, and the coloring is somewhat watercolor-ish. So that's what the AI produced, was a picture of collectible items, these pay in a scene, a street scene in France in 1870s, and the colors are kind of watercolor. So I copied and pasted the image into PowerPoint. That's what this is here. And what I want to emphasize from the picture is what you say, not what you mean. So it did not have a clue what I meant. It just produced upon what I said. And then you can do it with, there's on Apple devices, this is an iPad, you can download the Grok, G-R-O-K app, which is just another AI. And here's the way it looks. You have to know your customer. You have to log in. I use the Google ID. What is Google's gain, or excuse me, what is Elon Musk's gain from me logging in? So he's going to know my email, my languages, some demographics, my profile picture. He's going to gain information about me when I log in. And he's going to use that in his AI. My birth year, he'll know my birth year and what are the topics that I'm interested from. Here's the prompt box, text-to-text response. Here's one that I dealt with. Scroll down, you look at the bottom, you can copy and share. I found this pretty good, actually. I found the responses fairly accurate and useful. And then I copied it. It does it in an unusual way. And again, notice the markdown nature of the response when copied into Microsoft Word. This is copied into Google Docs. And then here's what I'm discovering if you use straight Microsoft products, if you use Copilot and then copy it into Word, everything works fine. It assumes the formatting, the layout, I call it. If you use Gemini and go to Google Docs, it will retain the formatting. And the new combination is Apple and ChatGPT. They seem to be getting together. Those may work better. But for the time being, there's Markdown. And it's a bit, I've tried to put it together. Let's just do the image very carefully. I'm going to go back. Let me see if I can go back. Notice the plus sign down here. You can put, it's right there. That's what I wanted to emphasize. If you hit the plus sign, it brings up the things that you can put into Grok. You can put a camera image, you can copy photos, you can copy files, or you can create images. I create images. I try to please make a traditional indigenous Northwest woodcut of a crow. What I found out is I believe that's what I wanted was a Haida image of a crow. I didn't know that at the time. This is what it looks like as it begins the processing. 4 squares, and it slowly brings it down, gives you the image. I fed it in a Haida image. So I'm trying to get it to respond the way that I wanted it. I knew I was telling it something it couldn't figure out. But this is what the response of the crows. I was able, if you click on it, to enlarge this image, and you can send it. I'm going very fast and I apologize. And you can save it, and you have to give it access to your photos. This is standard Apple dialogue. But after a while, I did come up with what I call Haida images. These are the images I came up with from Grok. This one I liked a lot. These are pretty good images. They're still there. I'm gonna, let's see if I'm gonna start. Are you seeing ChatGPT, Maureen?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Let's see if I go into Grok. Grok AI. Grok AI. No, is it, oh, there's Grok. Okay. Let's, there's a little, it'll upload an image. Let's see if, let's just put that one in, see if it will respond to an image. What is this image? Oh, I know. I'm doing it on the web versus Grok image itself. Do I have? I didn't download Grok. So that's the response. Let's see if I can do a risk. All right, SK analysis and mitigation of BUSNS with AI of municipal government websites. So there's its response. It got this response from 15 web pages, so it's doing retrieval augmented responses. Down here, I can, what's that one, share with people. I could send it to somebody. But what I want to do, I'm going to try this and see how bad I screw up. I copied it to the clipboard. I go to the web, or excuse me, I go to, oh, let's see here. I can't get this across. Let's go down here. Let's see if I can bring this up on. Come on, go across for me, please. Why isn't it going across? I may minimize this. Oh, I know why. I thought I knew why. There it is. It was full page. There's Word. And I'm going to bring up a new document. New document. If I notice, I said very early on that Chat GPT is now integrated into Microsoft Word. That's what it looks like. But I'm going to paste. Look at what it did. Oh, it did a real funky job here. Look at all that information that it put in there. Is almost not usable. Now let's see if I go over here. I'm going to go to Dillinger. Let's see, D-I-L-L. I'm going to this I learned, AI delete. And what happens if I paste it in? Notice how it's clean. And now this I can select all, copy, and go back to Word and bring up a new document and paste it in. Notice how in this scenario, there is not all the funny items. Now Grok has changed since I first used it. Let's go back to.
Do you have to log into X in order to get Grok?
Yes. You can use Google. You have to log in with something. It's a know your customer requirement that all of them have to use. You don't have to use your X ID. I think you can use a Google ID to log in. I have what I call burner Google IDs that don't have much information about me. I'm going to go to Chat GPT. And I'm going to go here, search the web. Please generate a risk analysis of and mitigation website based upon municipal government website to generate an AI. See how it says searching the web? Here's its sources because I chose the globe, but I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go to Word. Let's see if it will copy direct. See if it maintains the layout is what I'm looking to have it do. Does it maintain the layout or does it produce? Yes, it did maintain. Well, look at it's got some.
Can you make that larger?
Yeah. And plus. Notice it's got some extraneous characters in it that would just be a pain to remove. But let's see if, let's minimize this for a second. I'm going to go to my Dillinger, and I'm going to delete, select all, delete, and put V, put it in. Notice, I think this was from there. Yes, it was the select all this. Nope, select all this, copy, go to the document. Nope. And, oh, I know what I wanted. Let's get a new document and put in the, notice how all of the information, I have to document Dillinger, but notice how all of the, what I call funky stuff is removed. Not all of it. Not all of it. Oh, it didn't remove. Okay. It didn't remove all of it. Let's try it once. No, ChatGPT. Let's copy all of the information once more. Copied. Dillinger. Delete this stuff. Let's put in the new stuff. Control V. Here it looks like it got it all. Oh, I know why it did that. I was incautious in copying this. Let's see if I can get all of it. See how it copies the other stuff at the top? I have to figure out a little bit more on how to do that, but get a new one. So this is a work in progress to try to get all of this together. And by next week, I'll try to come up with a scenario to make the copying of information into a word processor clean. That I'm not sure why the companies aren't doing that. Programming is probably $10 million for them to program it to make it very clean. So that is where we end. I'm sorry to say I wanted to do one or two more things, but I'll try those next week. What I wanted to do was to copy a picture of some ancient document into a AI and see if it could tell me what it was. But I'll do that next week. Any questions here before we depart? We're 15 minutes over almost, and I